Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today we're playing Stockfish, but it gains 3600 ELO in 5 seconds. Thank you to Dunk the Lunk for leaving this idea in a comment. If you have any ideas you'd like me to try, feel free to comment them down below. You can also play this bot on iwantcheckmate.com. No ads and no paywalls, just chess. My goal is to win one game. Let's get started with game number 1. Alright, game number 1. Now, just to show you guys the mechanic, if I were to play my pawn to e4, you can see that its rating resets to 0 and starts counting up to 3600 after it makes its move. That's to say I have a total of 5 seconds to make my move before Stockfish will be playing at a maximum ELO of 3600. Of course, I could hypothetically take 10 minutes on a move, but after 5 seconds, it is just playing like regular old Stockfish. Now, it was quite funny to watch the thread of replies because some of you thought this would be a really hard challenge and some of you guys thought this would be really easy. And I think the reality is that if I come into this with zero sort of preparation, zero thought process beforehand, it is kind of a hard challenge. I did play this bot without thinking about it too much, and it is kind of hard to play against because you don't have time to gather your thoughts. But if I do something like just develop a singular knight, and then as soon as it makes its next move, make my next move, and then just go pawn hunting, this is actually a pretty, a pretty easy bot to defeat, but I accidentally put it in check, which made it recapture, and now I'm yapping my head off, which means it's just Stockfish again. Okay, let's try that again, but let's not put it in check this time. So I'm just gonna move my knight all around the board. I'm just going to try and capture a bunch of free stuff, and hopefully if I don't put it in check, it won't have any reason to try and recapture me. So I can sort of just hopscotch around the board. I can dilly-dally as I please. I can jump off to the other side. I can come and capture this. Oh, maybe not capture this queen. C3? Oh, I played that way too slowly. Way too slowly. Okay, let me target this queen as fast as I can. Okay, it has finally recaptured, and now I'm not really concerned about playing fast because I have enough material advantage that I can pretty easily, I think, defeat even Stockfish from this position. Now, the plus side is that if I make any fast moves, it's going to continue to play like a really weak engine, in this case 700, and I'm going to keep grabbing free material. So now I just castle out of the way, and this has turned into a pretty straightforward victory. We'll go ahead and just push the pawn. I can promote to absolutely whatever. Check wins the rook. The king doesn't even bother to come back and defend it. Pawn comes up to h3 is possibly the least of my concerns. Let's give check. Push the king back to e6, promote to a queen, and with that, we do in fact defeat Clockfish. Now, of course, this video would be an absolute bore if that's all that I did, so this time let's do it again, but I'm only going to make moves after it's rated 1000. Alright, since this time I'm going to let the engine be rated at least 1000 for every single move, I do have to wait before making my next move. It'll probably be between 1000 and 1300. I guess 1400 if I'm really yapping my head off and moving too slowly, but the goal is to get it to exactly 1000 for every move to be fair. But this I can also just play sort of like a regular game because it doesn't really take me that long to think about my moves for a bot basically that's rated 1200. If this were an actual person, of course, it would be much more difficult since it would make human mistakes, but a bot is not going to make human mistakes. A bot is going to make periodic sort of interval mistakes. Ooh, there I didn't give it quite enough rating, but we'll go ahead and trade this off. We'll go ahead and move this pawn to a3 as soon as it's rated 1000, and we'll just keep pushing down the middle of the board. You can see that I'm castled, the opponent is not. Now, in all fairness, I'm castled to the queen side, which isn't that big of an accomplishment, but I am castled and the opponent is not. So I should be able to run down the middle of the board and have a pretty darn good time. Okay, we're giving away free stuff. That's a good example of an error that a human would never make. A human would never make that move in a million years. Because it's just blatantly a defended pawn that they've captured for no reason. But a bot, again, has to make errors at intervals. So a bot is definitely predisposed to make some silly move like that to keep its average accuracy at what it thinks a 1200 would play. Now we're just going to dive in with the queen, and this should be just about zugzwanging a little bit. We'll move the king over. I think it's out of checks. Right, rook to a6 does absolutely nothing. We can let it climb all the way up to 3600 ELO, and with that, we do in fact checkmate. I will say, by far the hardest part of that little segment right there was commentating through my gameplay. I'm actually pretty happy about that, I'm not going to lie, because I wanted to at least be semi sort of commentating about what was going on, but also make sure that I'm not letting it get too high over 1000. Otherwise, I won't have those periodic mistakes that I'm hoping for. Which you guys also predicted in that thread that commentating was actually going to be the hardest part of this challenge, and you were in fact right about that. Okay, for this last game, I'm going to capture whatever I think the minimum amount of material I need to beat Stockfish is, and then I'll play it out from there against regular old Stockfish. Alright, so what is the fastest way to win the queen? Probably developing the dark squared bishop, so I'm going to start by moving my pawn out, moving my bishop to g5, capturing on e7, and hopefully it... Oh, it does take back! Are you kidding me? Oh, that's not good. Now I'm just down a bishop against Stockfish. That's not good. Okay, let's try it this way. We'll start by developing the knight, and then as quickly as I can, drop that knight on e5, take on c6, and then hopefully I can... Oh, you son of a gun! Okay, we'll go back to e5, try c4 instead. And now we're in check. Okay, c3 maybe? Wow, it's actually just taking all my pieces. Okay, maybe I'll play this. Here, there's no way it takes that. What? You're rated 300. How did you take that? We'll take back with the knight. Maybe it's just really defensive about its queen. Let's go back and target the queen again. Wow, it's really not wanting to give up the queen. Can I get a trade on the board? No, it's just going to take a free knight. Wait, am I getting assassinated? Was I playing that slowly? I thought I was playing a pretty low ELO bot. Okay, if we're going to win a substantial amount of material, it's apparently not going to be through the queen. So let's try that again. All right, how do we go about this? I need to gain material such that I think I can actually defeat Stockfish. I think I need at least a queen's amount of material. So I think I need at least 9 points if I'm going to win this. So I'm going to come down the side of the board and... Oh! You're actually kidding me. There's no way I just lost to 400 ELO Stockfish with Scholar's Mate. How did I not see that coming onto the board? That is horrible. Okay, let's try that again. Play again. This time let's play maybe a little bit more concretely. Maybe if I get my queen out super early. It feels like I'm playing like a beginner. I know I just... Okay, that's not gonna work. Let's try that again. How do I gain a substantial amount of material super quickly such that I can allow Stockfish to start playing sooner rather than later? Let's just start with a4. How's that? We'll start with a4. We'll just push. Let's not get Scholar's Mated again. We'll just push the pawn all the way down. I take on b7, and then I take the rook and promote to a queen. Okay. I think with this amount of material, I can defeat regular old Stockfish. So for every move, I'm now going to take at least 5 seconds to allow Stockfish to get to max strength before I make my next move. Okay, but I should be able to pretty straightforwardly convert this. But again, I'm going to let Stockfish get to full strength because I want to play against the engine now. Let's go pawn to c3. Now that I'm up a whole bunch of material, I think my goal is just to trade off every piece under the sun. So I can play something like bishop to a6 and force a trade into existence. That bishop on c8 has absolutely nowhere to go except to trade off. There's also that queen behind it that's sort of like pinned in a sense, not because it's actually going to lose the queen in any meaningful manner, but we're going to trade off the queens, and that also leads us deeper into an endgame. So we'll take with the bishop. Of course, it's going to take back with the knight. Had it taken with the queen, again, I get my queen trade. So it's going to take with the knight to try and ward off any piece trades for as long as possible. I think I can just play normal chess, however. I can just develop towards the center of the board. I'm totally incentivized to just stomp down the middle. Oh, I'm not allowing it to fully boot up. Whoa. I allowed c6 onto the board, but that is not a full engine sort of move. We get pawn to c6. Let's go knight to f3. Again, I think I can just develop my pieces totally normally. We do get pawn to g4. There's this really nice square on d6. I'm not really sure how I would get there, but if I do get there, that would be amazing. Maybe knight d2, e4, d6. A little bit convoluted for what the position probably actually requires, but I don't know, it looks like fun. Rook comes over to e6. I'm going to let it boot up all the way before dropping knight to c4 on the board, which is a really nice move because it defends e5, but also threatens knight to d6. Now, why doesn't knight to d6 work now? Bishop takes, pawn takes, rook takes. I could even just sacrifice the queen, to be honest. Knight takes back, I get the queen trade on the board. I'm really up a pretty decent amount of material there. The problem is that's not really necessary. I'll play knight to d6 just because I want to trade off pieces, and of course it's going to take back with the bishop. I'll wait for it to just fully power up before taking back, and again, we've forced a trade. Whoa! Onto the board. It takes back with the knight, which means now I can trade off the queens. That's a highly amusing move. Again, engines don't really calculate the way that we do. I would look at that position and say, I have more attacking opportunities / counter-attacking opportunities with the black pieces if I still have my queen on the board. So, you know, queen to f6 and, I don't know, h4, g3 looking at f2 is still possible if I have my queen on the board. But the engine looks at it differently. If the engine thinks that it's just completely losing, which objectively it is in this position, it's just trying to not get mated for as long as possible. And for whatever reason, it thought knight to d6 was a way of accomplishing that. We'll go and just snag up this pawn on a7. Knight comes out to e5, we'll let it fully boot up, but this should be a pretty straightforward victory. Something like f4, opening up the position. I have extra rooks, I have extra minor pieces, I have an extra queen. There's just a whole bunch of stuff here that I can work with and pretty easily, I think, take down the engine. It doesn't even bother taking my rook. I think it's finally figured out that it needs more pieces on the board if it wants a better chance of defending itself. Let's push e4, I guess, looking for bishop to g5. I feel like that's a pretty nice idea. Knight comes out to b5. Let's go check. We'll push the king to the... Oh, I was going to say push the king to the back rank, then maybe get some kind of mate, but we get f6 instead. But again, I have so much extra material I can just sacrifice, and this is more so about converting the position than really outplaying Stockfish in any meaningful sense of the word. Right, king takes back, and I'll go ahead and fast forward through the rest of this. Oh! You actually have to be kidding me. Oh my goodness, I was literally about to do my spiel about, and now we get my favorite type of checkmate invented in. And then I was gonna drop ladder's mate onto the board, but I've stalemated the darn fish. Oh my goodness. I mean, well played, well played. I didn't realize Clockfish had the Rosen gene running through his veins. That's actually crazy. Okay, with that, I do think we conclusively sort of kind of win against Clockfish. If you guys did enjoy this video, please consider liking and subscribing. You can play against this bot yourself at iwantcheckmate.com. It's literally just an archive of the bots that I've played on the channel. I'm both retroactively adding bots that I've previously played in other videos that have, just been created for the video itself, but are now going to be on the website. And I'm also making the bots as I go, as I create new videos, so you guys can play them alongside me. Also, let me know if you want any other features on the website. We've made a whole bunch of updates. Like for instance, we now have like cleaner arrows and UI sort of stuff going on. You can interact with the pieces. If I reset the board, you can interact with the pieces while it's your opponent's turn. You can also, clear arrows and highlights by just like making any move. There's a whole bunch of like nicks and knacks that we've worked on. You can also let me know if you want any big scale, maybe a community section, something like that. Leave those ideas down in the comments. Again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.